Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you can see my ugly mug and hear my voice, you know it can only be the worst 120 minutes in all of sports. That's right. It is time once again for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. I'm joined, as always, by my faithful partner in all things podcasting, a man who's having his floors redone and is relegated to sitting on the floor in his own bedroom. Stead, tell me your knees are holding up.
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm doing the old kindergarten style cross-legged on the floor. But the good thing is moving the house along and got some plans to potentially down the line, maybe build my own podcast studio in my garage. So things have taken a huge turn. Too Many Guys is about to blow up, and it's going to be very, very exciting. So yes, I'm on the floor today, but sometimes you got to roll around in the mud before you can really make any real progress. So also quick shout out. I got my son's artwork up here. He's going to be on full display tonight, because that is the last thing that we left up in our bedroom is my son's faithful artwork. So,
how
glad we're able to get a show up this week.
So there's a really, really unusually tan guy with us tonight, coming live all the way from Hawaii. Strangely, I actually miss him now that he's not on as regularly as he used to be. But looking tan, looking refreshed, looking like a man who's on spring break. It's British Will. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing the best I can. It might be spring break over here, but I have been out here for almost 9 months now. So it's been pretty fun.
Have you gotten used to the poke?
Poke? Oh, the poke is brilliant. That's the best part. You go there.
Are you eating more spam?
Spam musubi, of course. Can't get away from it. That's all they bring you. A spam musubi. You want a spam musubi? It's delicious. I've never consumed so many World War II rations in my life.
Have you started to surf?
To surf? Well, I've had the unfortunate experience of being mashed into the bottom of the ocean continuously by waves. Yes, I have. my ability on surfing is beginner.
Yeah, we don't want you
prior to begin. I can swim.
We don't want you to tear another ACL.
Exactly. It's always quite funny because my students say, "Oh yeah, we're going surfing." Yeah, have fun with that. Don't die.
So as you can tell, it is St. Paddy's Day week. So I've got this whole green thing going on behind me. Instead, we hope to have Celtic Cam on a little bit later, talk a little bit of Six Nations rugby. It is Super Saturday this Saturday. It's all coming down to 2 matches. England, France, and Scotland, Ireland.
Yeah, but that Ireland game, man, England, Ireland, that really.
Oh, that was ugly. You have a team that you have a team that can't score tries, and a team that is.
It was so frustrating. There was finally, it wasn't Italy that was on that I was forced to watch. I was actually thought I was going to be able to watch England, Ireland. This is going to be an awesome game. I'm set. I can just sit back, relax, and watch it. And a damn red card. I just was like, you gotta be kidding me.
2 minutes.
First 2 minutes of the game, there's a red card. I made it through about the next 15 minutes and just went, ugh, England's not even gonna get a try. And lo and behold, they didn't.
No, actually they did. They got one really, really late.
Oh, did they really? Okay.
Okay,
they got one. Gonna get one.
They got to try really, really. It was actually a really phenomenal match because Ireland was so sloppy, so many penalties, so many fouls. England hung in there until I would say about the last 15 minutes, England was in there with a shout, and I really thought it was going to be one of those great ones where you're like, I need to channel my Merrill Reese voice for the NFL Super Bowl coverage. And the fall rolled across the field as the 14 men of England took on the 15 men of Ireland, and the 14 men of England put up an epic stand, the likes of which have not been seen since the Battle of Britain, when Winston Churchill inspired all of Great Britain to take on the Germans as they put up a valiant fight against the onslaught.
It's a bad game. Like, I'm not watching this crap.
Sloppy. It was all sloppy. The bad.
It's terrible.
But it was good. I mean, it was good. It was actually a good watch.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was so disappointed because I was hoping it'd be a good back and forth, but I don't know. What do I know?
I mean, I need to give England credit for what they did.
Yeah,
Ireland sort of run it up at the end.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily blame England. It was just one of those circumstances where you just go like, it's gonna, like, the game is tainted now. And,
but it was their own fault.
It was a bad tackle. It was a clear red card tackle, but still, I mean, I'm just speaking about this from a guy who was forced to watch Italy play 3 times. So, Will, go ahead, jump in.
It's a bit like watching Burnley play with 10 men against Manchester City, and for the first 67 minutes they do really well and they keep it 0-0, and then they just get absolutely smashed in the face.
Well, I can't even argue with you, Will. Like, that is exactly what it was. But I'm gonna put some blame on.
Like, you use Burnley too. That's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna put some of the blame on Eddie Jones. Like, how many times have you had it in front of you this tournament, and like, do better, be better? I need you to be better, coach. Like, do something. You can't do that in the first 2 minutes and go head hunting in a match. It was a clear head-to-head. You knew that was going to be a red card. There was no point to doing it that early.
All I'll say is I'm pretty happy that I'm on spring break right now, because I have some Samoans in my class that would just rip into England.
That's true, man. Those boys down where you are.
I don't have to worry about their analysis of the game.
And those Samoans, unlike the Girl Scout cookies, those Samoans down there in Hawaii, they're quite large.
Oh, they're sweethearts, though. They're great.
Oh, yeah.
I will never forget the time that I was working at the Constitution Center up in Philly, and I had to give a tour to a group of islanders from Hawaii and Samoa in the Asian Pacific Isles. Physically, they were the largest group of humanity that I've ever seen collected in one general place. But doggone it, if they weren't the nicest group of people, you can't say anything bad about that. They were just the nicest, most polite, and most respectful, most engaged group of people. I wish, I'm kind of jealous of you. You get to teach Samoans. Well, they tend to be fun.
They're very fun.
Well, you're built like a Samoan too, and no one's really gonna mess with you. Why wouldn't you be nice to everybody? You got nothing to worry about.
You're taking up 2 spots in humanity. Why we jaw jack around and have a little bit of fun? We're gonna bring in a good friend of ours. Oh, this is gonna be like the old show,
the old times.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna bring
in 2 guys. We were just 2 guys. Yeah.
Back when we were 2 guys, we're gonna bring in our good friend Coach Matt. Coach Matt, how's it going this evening?
I'm not a happy man. I'm not a happy man.
I'm not a happy man either. Manchester United lost today. They go out.
Get out of there. Such as that Azerbaijan thing. Get out of here. Get out of here. It's not
between
even
the
about that. That's not even why I'm even mad.
Between the three of us, that's my fault. I gave that to him
For my 40th birthday.
For his 40th birthday. I gave him that kit.
Atletico? Why would you want that?
Who has that? Who buys that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, it says Azerbaijan on it. You got to respect that.
It's an old kit. I think that one goes back to 12
Okay.
with Koke on the back.
He's
a good kit.
part of my rant, by the way, today. So I'm
I never thought that would come back and bite me in the ass like it's about to, but yes. I gave you the Atletico Madrid kit because
I love it. It's a great kit.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, of the teams in Spain, I do have a soft spot for Atleti, even though I really shouldn't, because you go into history, they were Franco's team before Real Madrid was Franco's team, because they used to be the Spanish Air Forces team. It wasn't until Real Madrid started winning they became Franco's team, but it was two teams in Madrid. I just always liked them because they weren't Real Madrid. So, but I may have to rethink that one.
Sure. No.
I guess I got to get a Hetafe jersey.
I'm getting a Sevilla one. I want Sevilla.
Or Rayo Vallecano. They're also in Madrid. They're in the ghettos of Madrid as Vallecano. So
I do have to ask this question. Those of you who know a little bit more about me, I'm going down to Puerto Rico in July. I know there's a soccer team down there. What kit should I pick up?
The cheapest one?
Yeah.
It's like
look it up.
Yeah, okay, cheers.
The San Juan FC. I don't
you should find the first kit that you see that available and just buy it
right
blindly. Yeah, right in the airport. And that's going to be the most popular team.
Yeah. We need to do more with teams outside of England. I think we're failing on this. All right, Matt. So that sucked.
It did suck. But honestly, I'll be the first one to admit it, because Will knows this very well too, right before the pandemic happened. Like, that's just what Atletico does. Like, it's just, we got atletied. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I'm going into the fixture, even also as the first start of the first leg. I'm at the point with this season already where it's like, I know we're not going to go far, and we're probably going to lose exactly how we all think and all of our rival fans like hope and think we're going to lose. That's not my issue today. My issue today is, and we can touch on United later, is just the amount of time wasting that and shithousery that Atletico just constantly is allowed to get away with. It is just unbelievable. It's like, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, and I just don't get it. I don't understand how refs just allow for it to continue. And it's not just Atletico, it's everybody. It's even United's guilty of it. And like, we have to find ways to stamp this out of the game. I've been a player at a highest level. I've been a coach at a much higher level. I just don't understand like the value it adds to the game, other than just honestly being a bunch of assholes. Like, I don't get it. Like, I understand where you're like, oh, slow the game down, don't make a mistake. You can do that without, going down every 5 seconds and, taking, an hour and a half to take a throw in. It just doesn't make any sense. You don't need to do it. It infuriates me. And the fact that it would be one thing if referees gave actual legitimate stoppage time on both halves, but they don't. So it's just like, you're allowed to literally cheat the game away. And I used to love Atletico Madrid. We used to study their film like when I was coaching, because their organization and their back line is amazing. But the fact that they're literally allowed to just push the line every single time with any ref, and that essentially no ref, unless they commit a red card, actually does anything about it, it's infuriating. You guys all know, you've been watching soccer long enough. Like, you guys remember in the 90s where like there was a bias against English teams because they were too physical. Like, referees would actually like call the game unbalanced, like towards English teams because they were too physical. I don't understand how Atletico just gets away with it every single time. And I wanted Los on here to explain to me, like, the fact today that Koke was substituted out. He was on the far side of the field. He takes off he's all the way at midfield, the left side of midfield. He takes off his captain's armband, runs all the way to Oblak, which is a goalkeeper, then is able to come all the way back up to midfield and cross the line of where, you know, the substitutes normally come in. It took a minute and a half off the game time and wasn't added. Like, there's no way that was added in. And it's just, I don't know. I want your guys' opinion. It infuriates me. It's one of these things that's always been a thorn in my side. And I don't understand how, like, it's a culture of the game aspect to just be an asshole, to waste time and to just shithouse. I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't think it's a part of the game.
Simeone and Atleti have perfected exactly what they did, and Will can testify because what was it, 2020 or 2019? 2020. Liverpool got Atleti, and that was the big thing that I feared when Man United drew Atleti. That we're going to get Atleti. What was it? February 2020. Will, what?
First leg was in February. Second leg was March 14th. It was the very last game that was played before lockdown, and it shouldn't have been played.
Yeah.
So February 2020. I swear this happened exactly as I'm going to tell it. Will was still studying at University of Maryland, and I had gone down there to teach a friend of mine's class. Linked up with him after the game. We're going to watch the first leg of this. I told him, you know, Premier League champs going in, yo, watch out for Atleti. This is what they do. I don't need to worry. We're defending Champions League champs. Like, we'll get by this. Don't work. Nah, watch. What they're gonna do is they're gonna score a goal on you, and then they're gonna shithouse for the next 70 minutes. And this is what they're gonna. Nah, we don't have to worry. We made the fight. We won it last year. We're in tops in the Premier League. They're like.
Can I just stop for a second and say this is the most accurate impression of Will that I've ever heard in my life? It's fantastic.
And we went and watch it. Sure enough, that's what happened. So when United drew Atleti, this is what they do. They do it until you figure out a way to get by them, or they end up in the Champions League final, and they do that until Real Madrid beats them. And because like, that's literally what's happened since Simeone has been there. They've either done it until somebody's figured out a way to lob over them and score a goal on the counterattack, or they've gotten beat by Real Madrid in the finals. It was the worst possible draw that we could have had, because they did exactly what they do. And the worst part, Matt, is we allowed it to happen.
But here's the thing, though. I don't even think you can't even just say, though, that we allowed it to happen, because at some point, like, there's literally nothing you can do. Like, when there's not a foul,
something you can do.
I mean, you can score, but I'm saying, like, when there's not a foul, like when the ref doesn't call a foul and it's not a head injury and you're continuing to play the game, which you're supposed to do, and then the ref stops the game to check on an injury that was on his leg, and he gets up, doesn't even need to get treatment. But that happened twice. And then there was another time for a head injury where the guy didn't even touch his head, and they get to go down. And it's like, I understand that's Atletico, and like, I understand that's what they do, but that doesn't mean it should be allowed to happen. And like, why no one like steps in and stops it?
Until the refs get hit to what they're doing. There were 4 fouls in the build-up to that athletic goal, none of which were called.
Yeah.
But you also need to understand this is what's going to happen. And as unfortunate as it is, we got athletic.
I know,
And
but
I just want to say that I have been railing against Diego Simeone and his style of coaching
Yeah.
and his style of play for the last however many years I've been on this thing.
Mhm.
And Matt, you've been behind Simeone before, and you were
Yeah.
behind him because it wasn't happening to you. I just
yeah,
also like to point out the way you beat Atleti is you beat them early.
Yeah.
Both times that Liverpool has gone and beaten Atleti this season, they scored 2 goals in the first 20 minutes.
But that's
And that's how you
exactly
beat
what
them, because
that's
then they have
exactly
to come out and they have to play and they have to attack. And if they get involved in the game, they get carried away with it.
if you
and
get
yeah,
them
it's not-
early, you're right. If you get them early, if you score before they do and force them to actually play a game of football, more often than not, they're going to find wanting. But the other thing is, Will, as crap as it is, given what I see around the Premier League as a Man United fan, and given what I have to deal with, I'll still take him. I'll take him. Like, I will deal with that, and I will. Yes, Matt, you can him and haw and say whatever you want to. I'll deal with it. You know why? It gets us places.
Yeah, I
It
just
gets
don't
us-
think I don't think his personality would go with our board. Like their board is just very tolerant of him and like let him do whatever they want, because anything that Simeone has achieved is just bank to Atletico. Like knowing where Atletico was before he got there, it's like he's taken them to new heights. Whereas like us, it's kind of like when we got Mourinho, like we were expecting trophies. Like if he doesn't bring that in, and I wouldn't take Simeone. And Will, to
You
your
got
point too,
2
like
from
yes,
Mourinho. What are you upset about?
no,
You got
no. I'm
2.
no. I'm talking about how like the way Mourinho was with our board, and the way he left, and like just the way he rubbed people the wrong way. Like that's exactly what would happen with Simeone, and I don't think he would stay as long
Okay,
either.
let me jump in here though, because Matt, you came in discussing though, you're using this game as a conduit to what is really a gripe about what Will you have talked about.
Yeah.
And we see on the chat line, and that is, it's so easy to see now too with Six Nations going on, because you see a game that's actually officiated properly with players who respect the calls of the officials. And now you're watching soccer where you have coaches who tell their players to surround the official and rile him up to hopefully get calls to go more of your favor. I believe Mourinho is rumored to have told his Chelsea squad to do that. And you see officials when they're discussing, they'll tell players to back up, and the players don't listen. They just keep following them. And the match official does not pull out a card. The match official does not send them off. And these match officials are essentially dealing with young children. And what they always say about young children, all of us either have kids or are teachers, they tell you, you have to follow through with your threats. Yeah. You have to follow through.
Exactly.
And we've all taught young children. I mean, Mike, you've taught 5th, 4th grade, we've all taught young kids. If you make a threat and you don't follow through with the threat, the child goes, oh, I can just keep doing this. So we continue to have rules that have been implemented in this game. I remember the 4 steps rule for goalies. Then they got rid of that. And now they have this 6-second rule. That's never been, it's never implemented.
Never.
It's never. Then you have the simulation for cards. I can count the number of times I've actually seen a referee give a card for simulation. And one of them was in a World Cup, and that player was from Kuwait, and he actually jumped on the ground with no one within 3 yards of him, and that's what it took for him to get a card. So the problem is essentially with the officiating of the game. Like, that's the problem. The problem is that the officials are not given the authority by the governing bodies of the countries where they work to officiate the game in accordance with the rules.
Yeah.
They're not.
The other thing is that they're not also held accountable.
Exactly.
I watch a lot of non-soccer European sport. And I'm going to take a page from rugby and cricket, where the match officials are mic'd up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are in MMA too, which is a sport that I watch closely. They're mic'd up, and these guys are beating on each other, and they still respect the referee.
Yeah.
But they respect the referee. But the other thing is that you also hear everything that's said to the to the referee, and everything that they say to the match officials. All right, so I'll start with cricket. They send something up to replay. The official calls down. You can hear everything that he is saying in the stadium and on TV. Everything that he's looking at, everything that he's seeing. Here's what I see. Here's what's going on. We're going to bring in the Hawkeye. Okay, this is saying this. All right, stay with your decision, change it. You know, when I was watching the Six Nations on the contentious calls, you call over the captain, you could hear him. And you could tell that the players were cognizant of the fact that they were on an open mic. And they don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So
I think you're spot on. I think that's the thing. It's like I actually think it has become a point at which, and I don't want to be like a theorist or anything like that, but it's like it's almost as if the reason why they don't find ways to make refereeing more accountable is because they want the game to add more drama to the game. Like it's almost like they're trying to inject like drama and issues.
I actually disagree. I think that they don't do it because they want to find people who are willing to do it, and they are so short.
I think that there's ways to do it though. Like I feel like there's ways to hold people accountable, and you could like promote. You can have your own promotion relegation of referees. You can hold. I understand it's like, oh, you don't have enough people to do it, but we've all talked about how the difference between the way the Bundesliga does VAR and the way the Premier League does VAR. And the fact that the Bundesliga is able to do it.
You've got to get people who are willing to subject themselves to this. And it's not like, oh, I wake up tomorrow and I want to be a Bundesliga ref. I've got to go through every flipping division, deal with parents, upset kids, high schoolers.
But when listen, from a coaching standpoint, you know, I am a retired coach, but from coaching youth sports, you bring up those things about having to go through all those ranks and everything like that, though. It is not up to the referee to hold adults accountable. It's not. Yeah. It is up to the organization and the club, and in my situation, the school. I mean, I have walked into schools, there's a big red sign that says, you will not be an asshole when you're in this building. And if you are, we will kick you out. And I've seen parents get kicked out time and time and time and time again. Yeah. So I've seen that at that level. I've seen it at the high school level where a parent gets too loose, they get a little too brave, and they get kicked out. And the kid is embarrassed, and all they're doing is embarrassing their child. But you see that in specific sports, mainly you see it much more so in professional soccer, whereas you don't see clubs holding players accountable for their actions. And in fact, they feel like they're almost encouraging them. Look, you know that you do not need to roll around on the ground like that when you've been fouled. You don't need to do that.
Okay. Or to roll back onto the field. Or to roll back onto the field when you get hurt.
Yeah. You don't need to do that, especially after you've received the call. The whistle was blown. Get up and get on with it. You know, you hear the commentators all the time. You don't need to make a meal of it. It is clear to me that the viewing public, at least from what you're hearing from the television, people don't like this.
As a point of view from a fan who watches a team that I think has a pretty good culture around fouls, Liverpool. You always hear the fact, oh, Mo Salah dives, Sadio Mane dives, all of Liverpool's line dives. You used to hear that a lot. You don't hear that so much anymore. And I think part of that is because Jurgen Klopp has said to them, look, if you're fouled, you go down. But if you're not fouled, you don't go down and you don't make a big meal out of it. And I don't think that there has been a large push in the last 2 or 3 years to call Mo Salah or Sadio Mane or Roberto Firmino or Diogo Jota or any of the Liverpool forward players as big divers. And that is a change of the narrative around that. And that's what you're saying, Stead, about the teams taking accountability for it.
Right.
And that's what I see there. But also, I feel as though there is a feeling among the leadership of the FA or whatever country is doing the refereeing, that if every team is equally pissed off at the referees, then it's fine. Which is true in Germany, because every team is equally pissed off at the referees because they all make good calls. But it's also true in England, but it's true for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Bad calls.
In England,
bad
it's
calls.
just continuous bad calls week after week after week. Like,
Right.
I'm not one to champion Everton's calls, but they should have had a clear and obvious penalty in that game against Manchester City. That
And then
would have been
and then VAR is like, oh, well, sorry. And they shrug. And then there's nothing to hold them accountable for correcting it.
I also see Mike's argument saying, okay, well, we need refs, and these are the refs we have. But there are other refs in England that could be brought up.
I don't think it's, but see, I don't think it's fair to solely blame the match official when they have to deal with these types of clubs, is what I'm saying. Listen, I don't think it's up to the match official. It's not fair.
But I think you can see it from both sides. Like that's, I think, again, as a fan, like I think you want to see like what's going on both sides. Because like, again, instead I was that player. Like and it's why I wanted Los on. Like as a player, I hated the refs because I always hated the refs that thought that they were the ones that they got like a power trip on it, right? Especially at the level that I was playing out. It's like,
and I was the quiet guy. I was the quiet guy that never talked back to the ref. And I knew in the last 20 minutes, I'm going to get all the calls. And that's what repeatedly happened because I'd be playing against you.
Yeah, but I would get the calls too, because from minute one, I'm saying, you got to see this. You got to see what they're doing. And then I'm already in their head. Okay. Regardless of the tactics, it's not just that. It's the fact that Mike brought up a really good point about rugby and how the refs are mic'd. Okay. It's not to just monitor the refs. You can do that and flip it around and also monitor the players and the team. And it's like, yeah, well, I can see why he was like pressured to give this call or not to give this call, or, this team has just been atrocious to these certain refs and we have to correct it. That's fine. Like they can be a two-way street, but like, come on guys, how many times have we seen Mike Dean just like get off on like loving the drama? Like he loves it. He absolutely loves to stir the pot.
I think that's the thing. Bringing it back to American sports. I don't love every match officiating crew in all the 4 major sports in America. I can't tell you who's a crew in NHL. Most of the NBA guys, I feel like they do a good job. I will complain about Cowboy Joe and Angel Hernandez as baseball refs, who I feel are like the worst.
No argument here.
Nope.
And to the point where they actually made Joe retire and broke up that squad because they were just so incredibly bad.
Yeah, baseball doesn't even need an umpire anymore.
And there's a giant push to like literally make umpiring like automated.
You don't need them in baseball. You don't need them.
Cowboy Joe and Angel Hernandez are part of the reason why they're going to robot umpires, because their officiating of MLB games was so inherently awful for how they would call games, how they would throw out players, the penalties that they would administer, that literally got MLB to the point where they're like, yeah, we're going to go to robot refs.
think what's so frustrating to me about this topic, and I'm not sure we were planning on going down this road, but this is what I love about the show is that we're just going to go down whatever road we see.
Whatever we were going to do today, we just did it.
We just did it. I think what's so frustrating about this topic, though, is there is a solution to this problem. There's a solution. In fact, there's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And the will to fix the problem just isn't there in these football authorities. And that's the part that's so frustrating, because as a fan, look, I was a halfway decent high school player. I had no thoughts that I was going to go anywhere beyond possibly playing D3 at a 500 student university. So as a fan of the game, where most of us knew we were going to end up being just big fans of the game, it is extraordinarily frustrating where this is probably the one issue where fans can agree that there are solutions. And if they tried any of these 5 solutions that we could think of, it would be better than the way it is now, especially a game like soccer, which is a very large field with 22 guys playing, and there's only one dude running back and forth. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you guys who carry the flags your props. I'm sorry, I'm not. You're not the actual match official. And the frustrating part, though, is that's just another thing they could do. Put another guy out there. Maybe that would make things go smoother. There's so many ways to solve this problem. There's so many ways to improve it. Is it going to be perfect? No. And we're not even asking for perfection. We're asking for competence.
Yeah.
We're asking for competence. And I'm telling you, as long as you still see players who are milking the games the way, Matt, you were discussing, and as long as you still see players begging for fouls for non-existent calls, when, look, Chucho Hernandez for the Wolves swore that Ben White elbowed him in the face. He's falling on the ground, screaming in pain. When you saw the replay, his elbow never even touched him. And he is not held accountable for that. He should be held accountable. He should be given a 1-match ban and a fine. You should be held accountable. And the fact that would solve a ton of these problems.
It's like, if you can go back and review.
You could review it. You could review it in real time. You could review it before the kickoff even happens. But you can still review it.
Even after the game.
Out of the game.
Even after the game. Even after the game, like they do with red cards, or they rescind them. Like, why can't we do that?
It just doesn't make any sense, because the rationale that they give you is the most Swiss cheese, hole in the wall excuse they could give you, and they just move on. And that's what I find so frustrating.
People. A referee.
No, they don't though. But see, that's not defending your people.
A referee should be like a DJ at a party. You should only notice them when they F up. Right.
Yeah.
If a DJ is doing a good job, you don't notice who they were. You don't notice what their name was. All you know is,
because I always did a good job.
When we were doing a good job, they couldn't tell our name. All they knew was they woke up and their legs were sore the next morning.
Yeah, that's a different time of atmosphere. That wasn't the parties that I used to run. But what I'm getting at is, I don't think allowing a referee in split-second decisions, when you have a player who's saying they were violently hit on a field, who is clearly lying, I don't think it's wrong to say to this official, catching this is difficult. It might be a little too difficult, especially when you're the only guy out there. It's beneficial for everyone if, considering that everybody else outside of those players can see the replay and know immediately there's no reason why you can't offer that support to a match official. And I'm not even saying that's what they should do. I'm merely pointing out that this is one example of a solution to a problem that we have identified that they won't implement.
The reason they won't implement it.
They need to back their refs.
Yeah.
They need to give them microphones. They need to be able to give us the information, because what we exist in is a world where your fan is way more educated than they were 20, 30 years ago.
I think that's the nail on the head right there.
Agreed.
It's not even the education. It's also the fan can see more than the ref can.
The access.
You and I will have argued over calls.
Yeah,
We've argued over calls, but
calls are subjective.
But they're subjective. But if we knew what the ref was seeing and why he was seeing it and reffing it that way, would we just shut up and walk on and say, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what you saw.
I mean,
Even if you
would
don't
still
agree with
disagree
it.
with him, but I would disagree with him less vehemently.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, but Will, even when we've had discussions about calls and splitting hairs and have disagreements on things about whether or not a call was a call or a call wasn't a call.
I feel like we can always see each other's side.
Exactly. And that's what I was just about to say. We can always see each other's side. We can always see that. We can always go, well,
tells
you
us
know.
what he's seeing, like he does in cricket or he does in rugby. There is no question. I am seeing this. This is what I see.
Right. And we can argue the merits of what he's seeing, but we're not arguing what he saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, sir. I can't disagree with you on that
I
one.
can't disagree with that. Yes, he did step on his foot. Did he mean to? Well, I don't know, but he did step on it.
Yeah.
Yes, Steven Gerrard stomped on his leg because he was mad, you know. But we don't know if he was mad or not, but he did stomp on his leg. So
and just like for the implementation too, it's like I feel like there's also maybe, you know, that aspect to what Mike was saying, that the fan is more educated than ever. And maybe the FA or whoever, the governing body for any refereeing, like in soccer, because guys, come on, CONCACAF is like just as way worse. Okay.
Well,
it's like
CONCACAF is in the barrel too. I don't care about that.
Do they think that like, oh, well, the fan isn't seeing the game in the right way? Or like there has to be something like on the referee governing body side that makes them so reluctant to change. Like that's my issue with it too. It's like Will and Stead, you guys were just talking about how as fans, you might be very frustrated if a call went against you, but if you heard what that person saw in that moment, you would sympathize with them. You would understand, I see how that can come. But so much of the ire after the game is like, how did they not see that? Or how do they look when they're looking at it on video replay, not see it and not give it a call? And they just don't come out with an explanation. Or if they do, it's just super like, this is what the law is. We need to get to a point of like kind of understanding like why we can't have microphones or why we can't hold like them accountable, hearing statements after the game of like what they saw. Like why we can't hear that? Like what's the point of it? Like what is their point of view? Like why can't we hear those things? Like why can't we embrace understanding their side of the story and also holding them to a high standard?
Tradition.
I don't know. Yeah, and I hate that. I hate that so much.
But that's one of the things that gets soccer in its own way. All right. Oh geez, Matt. They all left us.
They did.
We're on our own. Oh. We'll have to get another beer.
Yeah.
And I thought we were gonna have a Man United group therapy session, but we're gonna bypass that because as much as this loss sucked, we did beat Tottenham, and Los isn't here, so we can't gloat about it too much.
Yeah.
But while I've got you both on here, there is actually something that I do want to talk about. It falls in the category of the other half of Merseyside for you, Will, and Matt. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
What in the entire HE double hockey sticks is going on with Everton right now? Like,
all I know is I'm practicing my smug face.
I mean, could we legit be witnessing right now one of the biggest drops that we could possibly see in all the Premier League?
Well, that's a difficult one to say because Sunderland essentially occupied the same position that Everton occupied, and then they went through demotion.
Everton hasn't
gone through the same financial struggles that Sunderland did.
But they also they haven't been
Everton
relegated.
have one of the greatest documentary series of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could.
All right, let me clear this up. Number one, documentary series came after they got relegated. Number
Very
two, Everton hasn't been
Still great,
relegated
though.
since World War II.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
crazy.
we're talking about the 50s that Everton has been in the top flight continuously. The only team that has been in the top flight longer consecutively,
Wasn't it Aston Villa?
that's actually Arsenal.
Yeah.
Well, Aston Villa, they went down a few seasons ago for the first
Yeah, they
time
did.
ever.
Yeah,
Right.
they went down a few seasons ago. So the longest 10-year clubs in first division,
It's Arsenal. 1920.
Arsenal and Everton. Arsenal shortly after World War One,
Mhm.
Everton shortly after World War Two. Let's be honest here. I thought a couple of weeks ago I like Everton going down. It's kind of like Newcastle when they went down. Yeah, it'll be. I actually think it's bigger than that. Like
I still am not convinced that Everton's going to go down. Just
we are
purely
real. They are
based,
really
they're
in.
very close, but just
Can they
purely
pull it off?
based on how crap the bottom three teams are.
Yeah, this
I
is my point.
don't think that Everton will go. I think they're going to be saved by the grace that Norwich plays in the Premier League this season. And that Watford has had 7 managers, and that Burnley just seems to not want to do its thing of drawing matches.
Well,
And-
Burnley's
and
also.
Everton have-
They seem to be. Burnley seems to be like they've been playing on some borrowed. They've been playing with house money for a while now.
You've got
it's Burnley. I mean, come on. And after the whole dust up, with they weren't even sure if Sean Dyche was even coming back. It was pretty clear at that point that I think Everton, or I think Burnley's probably had enough.
Yeah, I would also say too that Everton have 2 or 3 games in hand on all of them. So 3 on Norwich and 2 on Watford and Burnley.
One.
But one on Burnley? Okay.
Yeah, because they're on 26 and Burnley's on 27.
Okay.
But still, I mean,
yeah.
know, I really don't think. I honestly don't think they'll come down. They'll go down, but it wouldn't shock me if they went down, but it wouldn't be something that I expect.
Would you say they deserve to be, but they won't because the other teams are worse, essentially?
I don't even know that they deserve it. Kind of, maybe.
I'm not 100% sure that they don't. Like, as bad as they have been this season, that is relegation form. You have earned.
Well, it's Jordan Pickford's fault.
Jordan Pickford, poor management, whatever it is. I mean,
I feel so vindicated and validated on my opinion of him. So happy.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I think we're witnessing one of the biggest stories that we could possibly see in recent memory in football. We're watching it go down. That this team could be. I've seen them be in this place before, but never as bad as they are right now, looking as hopeless as they are right now. This is a legit thing.
It is.
It's one of the ones why I wanted to bring it up tonight, because I think this is one of those ones that we need to track as the season goes on. I've talked to people about good stories. This is one of those bad ones. Like, I really think that there is, I guess, called to celebrity death watch on Everton right now. Like, how much longer do they have? I know they have a couple of games in hand over Burnley and a couple of other teams. It is not looking good.
I think that part of it is also their decision. I'm not going to say that Frank Lampard's a bad manager, but he wasn't the right manager for this job. And part of it has been the managing of the team, because the team should be good. based
Yeah.
on what they have, they should be good. And it's obvious
Yeah.
that they're not. And so right now, Frank Lampard is a bad manager. And you see with Patrick Vieira and Steven Gerrard, they have worse squads. There's no question in our minds that they have worse squads than what
especially
Everton
Vieira.
should be, especially Patrick Vieira.
I would say
And
that
yet
I
they
would
are
counter that
performing
though.
with him at a much higher level than Everton is. And I know that your counter is that Everton hired Frank mid-season.
Yeah,
when
that's
Frank
massive.
had to deal with the absolute terror storm that was what Everton was in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And yes, but Gerrard went into Aston Villa in a similar terror storm. And you can see what Gerrard did with Aston Villa. And I know that it might sound like that because I'm a Liverpool fan, so I want to support Gerrard. But the results play out what I'm saying as well.
I have to concur with you, Will. I concur with you, Will, completely. I do. It just doesn't seem, or I don't think Everton's going to go down primarily because, you know, Chelsea Mike's favorite team, favorite 21st ranked team in England is going to be, you know, they're going to go down. And, you know, Watford squeaked out a win. They play some spirited football, but they're going to sell their best players when they go back down anyway, because they're out of money. And because they're still paying all these managers, they have to pay, like when you fire a manager, you still have to pay them. So it just look, I think the cards are set for Everton to actually be able to just squeak through. They'll probably end up finishing 17th. But I feel like when you compare what Vieira's done, as far as, you got to remember, Vieira's team was dead in the water. He was the fourth or fifth choice for management. He was way, way, way down. And they basically went, we don't have anybody else. I guess we'll just give him a whirl. And he's come in and he's proving everyone wrong. Everyone. Well, you're exactly right. I had them picked to go down. I thought, they're done.
Me too.
They're not going to do anything. But to hear players also that they do have some talent. Most of them are like probably loan players. But how have they spoken so positively of Vieira? He has pulled, you know, a rabbit out of a hat, essentially. But it's also like, well, no, this is also a guy that comes in and he's going to command that respect from his players immediately. Now, when you're 6'5" and you had played like Vieira played, I can imagine how it would be a little easier. What I'm saying is, I'm not seeing if Frank Lampard came in and did the same thing, because yes, Frank Lampard did come in mid-season, but it's not like
Frank Lampard managed Chelsea. It's not like this is Frank Lampard's
exactly
job.
And also, it's not like Vieira came in to roses and tulips either. He came into a dumpster fire.
We've seen managers do what Vieira has done. The best equation I have is, you know, Roy Keane took over Sunderland squad that at the time was second from the bottom in the championship and got them all the way up to automatic promotion spots. Got him automatic promotion to the Premier League, hung on to him for a half season, realized that's not what's going to clever. You know, you get these guys like Vieira, like Keane, who can motivate guys, right? I think Wayne Rooney's done an amazing job with Derby County. A lot of it has been dig into your Rolodex and get the number of people that can contribute and who are willing to do you a favor for whatever reason and come out and play. Phil Jagielka, Ravel Morrison, and a couple of other ones, right? I didn't realize, and I still don't know how well he's going to do it at Aston Villa. I didn't realize like Stevie G had actually learned to manage up at Rangers, but apparently he actually did. I'm not. Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
I'm going to be the one guy who like defends Lampard here, and I just actually think that it's tremendously harsh of what you guys are talking about. It's like, yes, Gerard's done an amazing job at Villa considering. But again, like, yes, I know Lampard had the benefit kind of a window, but he came in literally, it's like, all right, you're in now, like, buy the players that you think are going to turn the team around without actually really playing with the team. Gerrard had like a whole, like, essentially quarter of a season and then went into the window being like, okay, this is what we need to improve. And then guess what? They bought Coutinho, like, who's also replaced Jack Grealish, like, amazingly there. And like, I'm not saying it's only Coutinho. And like, yes, Gerrard has like adapted and worked, different wonders on his team. But I think there's a different perspective. Vieira got absolutely thrashed his first couple games, and he had to completely adapt his team. Like, he completely changed the way he was going to come out, the way he did out of preseason. And that's great. Like, he's had time to do it, and they've done an amazing job. Like, I just think Lampard, like, I don't think he was good enough for Chelsea, but he also found a way with them too. Like, remember, they were transfer banned when he finished in the Champions League spots with them. And what happened the next season? Like, yeah, he didn't do a good enough job for that level. He was keeping a team in the mid-table when they should be much higher. I think that, like, to just say though that he's just not as good as Gerrard or Vieira, like, based upon how he's doing at Everton, is just, I think it's really hard.
Not as good as
Gerrard. And I just think that if he had an off season, like, if he's able to get, the stay in the Premier League, and he's able to get through like an off season, like, then let's judge him. Because I will be the first person to hold up my hand and say, I stand corrected. Like, Gerrard and Vieira are the standard, and Lampard is a bum. Like,
he needs
I want to say
an
that
opportunity. Gerrard and Vieira found themselves in situations that equated to themselves better, and I think that's the problem where Lampard finds himself. He's got a big team that's got big ambitions. They got major squad thoughts, major squad ambition, major squad players, and Europa League talent. All right, we'll wrap this up before we go to Celtic Cam.
Well, I'm not saying that Lampard was a bad manager. I'm just saying he's done a poor job with what he's got, and you can't really say, yeah, sure. What if he'd come in 2 months earlier and he'd had the window? But Everton last season was 10. So Everton's squad has the ability to be managed. Everton's squad has the ability to win games and do stuff. And this season, they're 17th, barely. They're 17th on the graces of the fact that they have 3 teams in the Premier League that are the 23rd, 24th, and 25th best teams in the league. So, yes, I understand what you're saying, Matt, about how we can't really judge Frank on the same facts. But he did have a transfer window, which he didn't have when he came to Chelsea. And he also has, I think, the 5th most expensive squad in the Premier League. 5th, or so like a top 10 most expensive squads in the Premier League. And I know that money doesn't tell talent, because people can spend money for stupid stuff. But he does have multiple starters for multiple nations, like national teams, in his starting 11. And he's got Donny van de Beek, who we think is a good player. He's got Jordan Pickford, who we think is a good player. He's got players in his team that should be playing well together, that should be gelling well together, and they have gelled well together in the past. They've gelled well together in the past, and they've done stuff for Everton in the past that has been incredible. But right now they're not, and that's why I'd say that, wrong manager, wrong time. You needed to go for someone like Fat Sam instead of Frank Lampard.
And that's who they got rid of. All right, we're gonna totally.
We love Big Sam on this show.
Yes, we do. We're gonna totally shift gears. Bring in the only man that I know who probably won't be wearing green on Thursday. The Happy Scotsman. Our guy with the report from the land of enchantment, Cam, how goes it, my friend?
Good, good. It's been a good week for me, so I'm happy comparative to the week before.
All right, so Scotland were sloppy. What I have learned in this Six Nations is Scotland can't play defense. England can't play offense. Ireland can't stop committing fouls. And France is just whoever they want to be.
Yeah, I would like to tack on to that. Scotland also likes to pull fouls too. That's kind of been one of our killers. I think as Six Nations has progressed, our defense started strong, as we saw with England. And then each game that's gone on from there, kind of as you're saying, the defense has just gone exponentially downhill. And I have no idea why that is. But you're absolutely right. Our defense has just taken an absolute tumble throughout the Six Nations campaign. And sloppy is the perfect term, especially against a team like Italy. And I told you guys, don't put too much faith in it because it is Scotland, and they will, they will kind of step on themselves.
They let up more points to Italy than any team thus far.
Yeah.
Cam, I'm not gonna lie. I was slightly disappointed. I know that teams going in, they play Italy, and it's kind of like, all right, yeah, whatever happens, happens. We know we're going to beat them because we've got too much talent to lose. What was Scotland doing?
I don't know. As you say, it was sloppy for sure. I just somehow, as you say, like the defense has just gone downhill. I mean, our standout player was Ali. I think Ali Price had a fantastic game, absolutely stunning game for him. But outside of that, Stuart Hogg, fine. Okay, I think that was a pretty average game for him. But yeah, I did make a notion that Italy were going to come out strong for this one because this is the first time they're doing this new cup named after Massimo Guitar. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but the new cup that they have there. And they did come out strong. There were some, pretty impressive plays by Italy, but, Italy still have those holes in their defense. We saw when they were making that massive push, they were within the 22 and we were able to intercept the ball and run it basically the whole way downfield and get a try out of it. So Italy still has those holes, but Scotland was just, they were not meshing well together at all. Again, as you say, pulling fouls continuously. And I think that's something that, Scotland's going to really have to focus on, especially against a team like Ireland in the next game up and coming.
All right. So you brought it up. It's one of the few times that you and I are going to be on separate sides of things.
I had a feeling with the jersey behind you there. Yeah.
I mean, you can see all the green going on back here.
Yeah.
I'm feeling my Irish roots.
Oh, gosh.
I know you got the text message. I know you'll be out on Saturday, 12:45. At least I hope. We got a place. We're going to come and watch that. You've got a team that can't defend versus a team that is capable and sometimes can't get out of its way.
Mm-hmm.
Ireland, I mean, you play a team for 38 minutes with 14 guys, eventually you're going to wear them down. But 15 penalties, to say that was sloppy,
yeah,
for Ireland is like grading a kindergarten on his cursive, on his or her cursive ability. Like, yo, what were y'all trying to do? This is very much a must-win for Ireland. A must-win and winning a bonus point.
Yeah,
really puts the pressure on France, who, to be honest, did not have a great game against Wales
mm-hmm. Yeah.
on Friday. So Cam, it's Super Saturday. Wales, Ireland, we know that's only going in one direction, like a K-pop band. Where do we go from there?
So I think I will say, I think Ireland they're looking really strong. They've been the ones to really challenge France this competition. I think this when they played, it was 30-22. I think that's the closest any of the teams in Six Nations got to getting a leg up over France. Um, I think in terms of when we play Ireland, I think it's gonna be a difficult game. I mean, we saw it. I mean, they played Italy and it was I think 57-6. Like in terms of them getting the ball downfield, their point differentials like fantastic.
Crazy.
It's
Crazy.
crazy. It's wild. Their best defense is a good offense type of situation. And I think with our struggling defense, it's going to be really really tough for us. I'm obviously thinking positive, but it's Ireland just has such a good team this year, and they are just putting up numbers like no other team. I really do think they deserve to come in second for this competition. And I think I'll turn out France, then Ireland, then England, and then hopefully Scotland right after that. But we'll see, I guess.
So you're predicting Ireland over Scotland and France to do the Grand Slam?
I think France have a pretty good chance of doing the Grand Slam. I think they've shown the kind of team they have. No other team, as I say, Ireland coming so close, but still, it's an 8-point gap right there in that score line. I think it's going to be a Grand Slam for France this year for sure. I mean, I'm hoping that we can, if we are able to beat Ireland, that puts us in a position for third if England loses. But will England lose? Who knows, sort of thing. So
they're playing France. They probably will.
They will, but they haven't looked terrible either. And I think
with England though, it's can you score a try?
Yeah.
Like their ability to score tries, their ability to put points on the board. Defensively, I think they are great.
They are very strong. Yep.
Their penalty kicking, their set piece game is totally on point.
Yes. Where
they have failed is creativity and those final couple of passes once you get inside the 22. That incisive couple of passes.
Mm-hmm.
As good as Marcus Smith has been this tournament, I think that's where they miss Owen Farrell the most.
Yeah.
Owen Farrell could see that pass in a way that Marcus Smith does not. I don't know even like the proper way to put this. He's like Steady's like a rookie option quarterback, the one that makes all the wrong reads the first time. He'll make the right one a couple of times.
Yeah.
But he's like Malcolm Perry for Navy against Army. Full capacity to do it, march the ball up and down the field, but can't get in the end zone.
Right.
He's going to have to learn how to manage those games because there's a couple of passes that a couple of decisions that he's made, a couple of passes that he's missed, that inside game when they could go inside or outside,
right.
That final incisive decision that they need to get across that try line, England has clearly missed. Yeah. I think Owen Farrell has that in his arsenal to a degree that Marcus Smith does not. And this is why I fear for England against France. They just haven't shown the ability to score tries.
Yeah, I think that's really, really accurate. And, I've obviously been dumping praise on Marcus Smith over the past few weeks. I think he's a good player now. I think he's the potential to be a great player and add some new energy into the offensive action of the England team. And I totally agree with what you're saying for sure. I think England are going to make it a little more difficult in terms of how defensive they are and how good defensively they are for France. But, you know, if I had to put money on that, France, I think, is going to take this, get the Grand Slam. But I think England's going to make it tough for them. One thing I'm really going to be interested to see Marcus Smith and Dupont up against each other and watch how they, you know, they change their styles of play, knowing that, you know, the other one is going to be playing as well. So that's what I'm going to be looking at in that game. You know, Dupont and Marcus Smith, seeing how they interact with each other, seeing how Dupont can actually produce a game that is as creative, if not more creative, than Marcus Smith. And I know he can do it. I think everybody knows he can do it, but I'll be interested to see how he's able to produce a game that's more creative and is able to get through the England defense for sure.
Okay, so you bring up a good point, like Marcus Smith versus Dupont. We've talked highly about them and it's going up against each other in the respect that they actually are. The chances that they meet at any point in time that matters, and if they did, I have problems with that. We saw again back, what was it? 19. Faf du Plessis and Owen Farrell in the final. You know, Faf clearly wasn't worried about what Owen Farrell was doing. He was going to manage his game the way that he thought to man. He was getting the ball to the players that he wanted to. He's going to run his game. At this point, do you think like DuPont's going to, all right, I got my squad. I know what they can do. I'm looking clearly at what they do against this defense. By the way, England's defense is massive. It is stout. Yep. It is big. They've got guys like Mauro Itoje in there who's just as physically massive and athletic as you can get. Yep. I don't think that, you know, no disrespect to Wales, no disrespect to England, no disrespect to Scotland. England by far has the biggest, stoutest, most athletic defense that France is going to. Is he worried about what Marcus Smith may do with the ball on offense, or is he more worried about, like, how do I get through this England defense because they are the size of sequoias?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. Now, one thing I do want to, you know, point out here is that you have to remember Scotland did beat that English team with how poor of a, you know, defense that we had, and just by being purely creative. So I think, you know, again, Itoje, as you said, he's a beast, man. He's an absolute beast, and he's athletic, he's large, but, you know, I think the creativity of Dupont is going to be an absolute game changer for this. You know, it's more of a brains rather than bronze situation, I think, when taking on England. And I think Dupont is aware of that. I think he knows that. He's a very, very intelligent, creative player. And I think he's going to be looking at that creative element to kind of break down, you know, both the defense and the offense and people like Marcus Smith. So I think they're going to honestly be watching that Scotland game a few times and seeing how we were able to put some holes in their, you know, their defensive line and get through there.
All right, so we're going to end up the Seven Nations conversation before we get over to Scotland soccer with this questions. Scotland beat Ireland if?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to sound terrible, but I mean, Scotland's going to have to improve their defense. They're going to have to really be able to react sooner, I think, to things, you know, and as well cut down the number of fouls. Those fouls killed us, absolutely killed us with Wales. You know, they did damage to us with Italy. I think our players need to be more strategic. They need to be more intelligent about what they're doing on the field in terms of, you know, tackling, especially coming over the ruck, you know, things like that. I think we need to clean up how we're playing a little bit and be more intelligent. And I think if we can do that and tighten up our defense a little bit, I think we do actually have a shot at Ireland, just as we did with England.
I'll take this one. Ireland beats Scotland if they play a clean game like they have in the past. not to play down to the level of their competition like they did against Italy, not to play let the competition get into their head and play lackadaisically against like they did against England after they went to 14 men. Minimize the penalties, play a clean, creative game like we know that the Ireland that we saw earlier in this tournament against the likes of Wales, even in the loss to France, is capable of doing. They can get past it. They certainly have the talent, the creativity, the physicality, the defense to do it. They have the all-around match to beat Scotland. They just need to minimize the self-inflicted wounds. All right, I'll give you the easy one. France beat England if
France beat England if they've been playing like they've been playing. I think they have really shown that they have a beautiful mix of younger guys, veteran players. France is. I honestly can't find a fault in the way France has played in this Six Nations competition. It's been beautiful to watch. And you're absolutely right. That is the easy one. If as Will said, if France show up, they'll win. That's my take on it. It's very difficult. Defensively, they're on point. Offensively, they're on point, and they have a great guy at the helm directing where that ball goes. So I think it's going to be a really difficult game for England.
England win if they are able to control the physicality up front. If they can control the game from the front line, give Marcus Smith time to direct the game and get the guys out on the wings and move the ball. The easiest thing to say is England wins the game if they can play defense and actually figure out a way to score.
Yes.
Smith has grown into this tournament. Now's his opportunity to show that he belongs among the great halves in the Six Nations. Make that decisive pass, make that one, do what the great England halves of the past have done. Capitalize on speed. They've got it up front. It is clear.
Yeah.
I don't think that France has gone in against a team, this Six Nations, that has as much beef, as much heft in the ruck, in the mauls as England does. It's going to be interesting to see how they react to a team that at least up front can match up with them physically. The question is going to be, can the halves and can the back line bring the creativity?
Right.
And if England can bring the creativity, we saw Wales mix it up to the tune of a 1913 game. If England can make it that sort of in the mud, mucky, physical, cause you to create penalties on the scrum and on plays, create turnovers, create drops, create mishandles, I think they're in there, and England just need to minimize the self-inflicted wounds. All right, so it's pretty much as you were in the Scottish Premier League. We got to talk about this. Man, it hurts me to ask this question. Could it be that Sevco's a legit team in Europe?
Yeah, I know. It's painful. It's really painful, to be honest, to see them going as far, to see us not in Europe anymore. Yeah, I never thought, if you'd asked me months ago, would they get to the last 16, I would have laughed, to be honest. I'll be the first to admit that. I definitely would have laughed at that prospect. But they're doing amazing in Europe. You know, they beat was it Red Star Belgrade, I believe, or
No,
Svetska or something.
no, it's one of those. I'm sure that Mike Shustak's going to come on and tell us at some point in time, after I introduce him and he gets over his gimmick, which Eastern European team it was. I don't think it was Red Star Belgrade, though.
Okay, it has something's.
It has lots of C's, Z's,
These,
and
yeah, an S and all that K's and stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, oh, Sverna Zvezda.
Yeah, I don't even know where that's from.
Everybody knows that too.
Our stats guy, Bayern Rob, is eventually going to tell me where in the world this is located. Serbia.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think they beat them 3-0 the other day at the first game, and that was, that was at Castle Grayskull though, so they had home advantage. So we'll see how they play, out in Serbia. But the one benefit to take away from this is that it does help get Scotland on the map a little bit on football. Increases our how would you call it?
Oh, you wait for coefficient.
Coefficient, thank you. Yep. Increases our coefficient. So, there is a benefit to them doing so well. And again, they're going to be concentrating on that. They're getting close. There's last 16. They have a good chance then to move to the last 8. So they're going to be concentrating that. And we've now got, we drew them in the Scottish Cup for semifinals, and we have an Old Firm in April as well. Both of those are in April. Plus then we have a friendly that's way down the line, but those are 2 big games for them right there, so they're going to be concentrating on Europe, and I hope that benefits us domestically. And to be honest, I think it will. I think they're going to be looking to play Europe a little more than the league this year.
So rumors out of Parkhead and Celtic land have to do with Angie's attempts to sign Cameron Carter-Vickers and Yota to long-term contracts. It looks like there are a couple of Premier League teams that may be very highly interested in Jota, but CCV seems to be a possibility. Angie basically, I gotta have respect for him for doing this. Laid down law and said, like, yo, we want to have you. You are a key part. We hope to be in the Champions League proper in the group stages next year. You are a major part of getting us here. But at the same time, we're going to get Champions League money. And if you decide, like, you want to dilly-dally, doesn't mean that I can't get somebody come in and do the same job.
Right.
I feel a lot like it's like, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. And don't worry about it. I'll get another one look just like you and won't even miss a beat.
Yeah, I mean, Angie is known for playing a bit hardball. I don't blame him. CCV does have some interest too. I've seen that Wolves have been looking at him. However, I think if he was to make a move like that, I think, I honestly think he'd be a bench warmer for quite a bit of that. And I think that's unfortunate because I think he does have talent. I mean, Rob was talking about beginning of the season and how good he was coming in and that he was kind of undervalued. And, I think he is one of the most undervalued loans or even, any transfers that we've had this whole season. Fantastic defender. And, I think Angie has to be bluffing a bit. I mean, when you look at the stats of someone like CCV, it's incredible how good of a defender he is. And I think, Rob, you're absolutely right. Rob is saying that he should stay Celtic for another year. We purchase him and then he's able to move on. I think that would be a much preferential situation for him. I think you would get that, again, additional exposure, when Celtic goes to Europe, get that exposure in Europe, and then, bigger clubs than Wolves might look at him. Or if he does go to a place like Wolves, he'll get that first team action instead. Jota similarly, however, I think Jota is slightly on another level. I mean, I don't know how many people have seen him play. I mean, he's a maestro with the ball, man. He's beautiful. If we were able to sign him from Benfica, I'd be beside myself. I mean, for 6 million, that kind of talent, I think again he would do something similar. I think he'd stay for a year or two. I think then, I think he'd be looking at moving to bigger teams down south for sure. So, I think both of them would benefit staying at Scotland for at least another year and then moving on to, if they want to, moving on to a bigger club. It benefits both them and benefits Celtic as well.
All right, my friend. Well, pleasure to talk to you as always. We'll get you back on next week to recap Super Saturday, the entirety of the Six Nations, the weekend for Celtic, and we can't talk about the upcoming playoffs because that has been suspended. All right, my man. Good to see you as always. Hope to see you on Saturday. Go Ireland.
Go Scotland. Thank you.
As long as you're well and you're skilled, I'm good.
Oh, of course. I always wear it.
All right. I'll see you on Saturday, my friend.
All right, mate. Have a good one.
You too. All right, Stead. I've been putting this off for a while. Chelsea Mike wants a formal introduction because apparently he has something planned.
Look. Let me just say this. We have nothing to worry about. You know why I say that?
Because G's not on the show?
Exactly.
And the other thing is, I know I've got Bayern Rob waiting in the wings. So whatever stupidity Chelsea Mike comes up with, I'll just cut him off and invite Bayern Rob in and then talk to Rob. All right, so bringing on to the show live from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Okay, yes. He's holding a sign that says for sale.
No, I'm not holding it. It's tied around my neck.
Okay,
for sale.
Yes.
And we need somebody, and we need them by Friday. So
All right, so not to diminish Mike with his real estate for sale sign on, we're also going to bring in Bayern Rob. How you doing, my friend?
Not too shabby.
You do not have a for sale sign.
No, my club is member owned, so I'm a paying member. So try it sometime, Chelsea Mike. It's a great system. We could win Champions League that way. By the way, we don't need a billionaire.
Well, yeah, you'd have a way better chance if the billionaires in England, just didn't buy all the talent.
So, Mike, we know, Mike, that you're a real estate agent. Did you steal that off of somebody's lawn?
Hey, no, but I might be misusing company property right now. So don't tell anyone. Don't put this on the internet.
Yes, because nobody can see the YouTube feed of this. That's readily available. Go to YouTube. Too Many Guys Soccer Show channel.
We got all kinds of promotional possibilities. And just a reminder that if you're looking for real estate in Northeastern Pennsylvania, Mike Shustak is your lead agent.
Oh, geez. All right, gentlemen. And I'm sure British will jump back in here momentarily once I mention this. So the news came down right after we did last week's show. Roman Abramovich has been sanctioned, and the assets of Chelsea Football Club have essentially been frozen. Mike, I don't know how to put this any other way than to say y'all basically in administration without being in administration.
Right.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I mean, it put us it made us the most likely club to just be eliminated, which in a year where I've been talking about Derby County constantly on this show for the better part of the season, it's kind of surreal for me. I think at the end of the day, we're probably going to be fine. They're going to be, I think it's actually, in the British national interest to find a new owner for Chelsea FC, even if they're not as powerful or even committed as Roman Abramovich. I think we're going to move through this fine. And, I think the team is going to be fine, but there's a lot of unease right now. I mean, there's going to be a change, and with, change comes the potential for, us to find an owner who is not as committed as Roman Abramovich was to winning, which is what I think Chelsea fans liked the most about him.
I think it's hyperbole to say that you're going to be eliminated. You currently sit third in the table. You're not actually going into administration. Even if you did, 20 points doesn't put you near the relegation zone. So y'all good there. Y'all still being
right. And even if the standard penalty for entering administration was put on Chelsea would still be competing for European spots, right? As it stands right now.
Nobody is, and nobody has even come up, floated whatever the idea of putting them into administration. When I say that y'all in administration, I'm talking about strictly like the limits put on. So it's £20,000 that you can use to travel, which means that they can't fly from London to Middlesbrough. They have to take a 10-hour bus ride. I think this is really interesting because, say you get past Lille and have to take a flight to Madrid, because there's two teams in Madrid still. Does that mean that Chelsea, and this is what I really want to see, Chelsea FC has to go through Heathrow and catch a coach flight standby on Ryanair?
They gotta fly
Ryanair. That's
I don't even know if they could afford Ryanair.
that's $25 a seat, man. You might be all right.
Ryanair,
standing room only Ryanair.
Ryanair, standing room only, no carry-ons. Like, do they have to put the all the equipment on the freight across and ship it?
No, listen, I mean, while you're over there snickering, I'm seeing an opportunity. How does Chelsea become the club of the people? They're out there flying Ryanair to Barcelona or to Madrid, just like everyone else in Britain. I mean,
listen, look, the thought of Romelu Lukaku squeezing all 6'4" of himself into a Ryanair coach seat is cracking me up. Like that does Romelu Lukaku get window or in the aisle?
The thought that we're talking about these professional football players actually going to fly with the team on Ryanair and not just booking their own private jet is kind of hilarious to me.
Well, you've only got £20,000 to travel the whole doggone team. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like Romelu Lukaku's a spread guy. Like he's going to want the aisle, kind of get a more, get a wider base on it.
Does Tuchel pay for the upgraded peanuts on Ryanair, or does he bring his own snack?
Well, my only hope is that when Romelu Lukaku is, spread out like that, that the drink cart doesn't hit him on the knee when it goes by.
And then
Thomas Tuchel is bringing his own snacks. Let's face it.
Well, does Mason Mount or does Christian Pulisic get the middle seat?
I guess it depends on their form that week, doesn't it? I think right now Mason Mount's taking the middle. Christian Pulisic is on the end. But no, in all seriousness, to your question, they've asked all the Chelsea players this, and they've said that they privately fund any trips that they would have to take should the government not allow them to fly. I mean, I think a nice little rail journey would be a good team building activity, but these men are used to a certain comfort level.
I understand that they may privately fund it. I question whether or not the English government's going to let them. All right, so
I mean, it would be difficult to see the English government not allowing private non-Russian citizens to finance flights for themselves. But
it's only helping to make Chelsea, the club that they have sanctioned Roman Abramovich, more profitable the longer they go into this tournament. There's an argument to be made for not letting them do it. From a practical standpoint,
I mean, there's also an argument to be made to say they're not allowed to play any games for the rest of the season, but that's not going to happen.
All right, I want them to play games, and I want to see Timo Werner stuck in the middle seat.
No, I just
without the ability to have access to the carry-on compartment.
I mean, maybe that would help Timo.
I just want there is something that I want to see about Antonio Rudiger having to choose. Would you like aisle or a window? And then having to deal with some 300-pound woman with her baby sitting in crying 6-month-old sitting there as he's trying to get to and he can't. It's like that to me is like, yeah, welcome to the real world Chelsea Football Club. But that's just me, and I'm a bit of a sadist, so yeah, I can go on for days about how I want that to look.
I mean, I can, we can sit here and snicker, but while Will is snickering over there, like his motivation's very clear. If Chelsea were expelled from the Premier League this year,
nobody's talking about Chelsea.
Liverpool would actually gain 4 points on Man City. Man City beat Chelsea twice and drew with Liverpool twice. And should Chelsea be forced out of the league, those games would be invalidated. So
I have not heard anything. So I'm going to bring Robin in a second. I've heard nothing about that even being a possibility. So yeah, we're not going to count in this.
It's not a possibility, but Will is over there. No, Will is over there picking apart the corpse.
Will and I. I'm looting the body before it's even dead.
Yes, yeah. We're doing the same thing. Nothing has to do with them getting expelled from the Premier League, putting in an administration. Yeah, no, we're going to stick with the reality that we can have fun with, which is that as far as we know, they're going to have to travel.
Well, but Mike, you have to remember that Chelsea are now going to have to travel just like MLS teams do. Mm-hmm. They have to travel coach, and all the MLS teams travel coach, like except for like 5 flights a year. And usually the cross country trips, and usually it's like the trips to like Canada. And then, but for Champions League, if they're in Champions League, they are allowed to travel charter. I have questions on like the seating chart on the coach the coach plane for Chelsea. Like, are like the wingers get the window seats, and then like the forwards get like the aisle seats? Do you put Havertz, Timo, and Romelu in the same row because they're all strikers? Or do you have like Christensen and Rudiger together? Like, or I don't know how that works, and like.
No. They're gonna take 2 seats. They're gonna put Romelu Lukaku and Edouard Mendy next to each other, all 6'6" and 6'4" of them, and then stick Pulisic in the middle.
Well, where do you put them? Do you put them in the emergency exit rows?
You have to. Mendy's 6'6". That's the only place
but I mean, do you really want them? Do you really want them in the emergency exit rows, or do you stash them all the way in the back?
I think they'll just be accessible. Lukaku, Mendy, and Rudiger all in the exit row, because they're just like, well, they need extra leg room for that height, but they're not considering the upper body.
And what if it's like they ask them, "Are you willing to perform these functions?" And each one of them is like, "Nah, not really.
I'm good.
Well,
I'm good, homie."
no matter the airline, we know Romelu can answer the question because he knows all the different languages.
It's true. There's 8 of them.
I mean, all of them are pretty smart individuals who are multilingual. My question is just a dedication. Like, nah, I'm good.
You know that Rudiger would do it. You know that Rudiger would do anything he needs to do.
But Rudiger would be the one that with the plane isn't even going down, and he's still going to open it and start throwing people out just because he thinks.
Rudiger's the kind of guy where if it's like the door to the stadium is closed, it's like just Rudy, go ahead, put your shoulder through that door. We got to get in there, and he'd do it because he just wants to get out there. Love him. And you know what? I mean, while we're talking, like there are real and practical applications right now. Chelsea can't sign players. They have Rudiger out of contract, Christensen, Azpilicueta. These are deals that can't be inked until
among
a new
other
owner
people
comes
that
on
they
board.
actually have out of contract is Thomas Tuchel, who only signed an 18-month deal, so his is going to expire at the end of this season as well.
True. And, you know, I mean, I think generally I think I think they're going to find a new owner pretty quickly. I think there's enough people with enough money, and Chelsea's just a big enough brand that it's attracting. I mean, there's bids that they're talking about everywhere, £2 billion, £2.7 billion.
He had asked for 3.
Right.
It's clear now that the proceeds aren't going to Abramovich, and whatever his asking price is mute, essentially. The government, I guess it's a government sale more than anything else, which is why it's like they're in administration, but they're not in administration.
I mean, it's an unprecedented scenario, of course.
Here's why I bring everybody else in. Rob, you're used to a 50+1 ownership structure in the Bundesliga. Will, Stead, you know, as Premier League fans, you've dealt with the vagaries of Premier League ownership. Are we reaching a crossroads right now? The Premier League has clearly set a precedent by expelling Roman Abramovich. It just so happens that they expel Roman Abramovich and freeze his team on the same weekend that Newcastle plays Chelsea, and on a day where the Saudi government executes 81 people. Is fit and proper persons test now going to have a little more teeth?
Yeah, all right. I've been telling Chelsea fans all over Twitter, like, look, you're at a crossroads, right? The Premier League is at a crossroads. If you're a supporter and you're a fan, you need to figure out a way to take back control of your club. Because at the end of the day, if you don't own it, you have no stake in it, that you have no control that this could happen again. You're going to have this, which is unprecedented. You're going to have an oil state. You're going to have an American owner who wants to milk you to fund their NFL team. Sorry, Mike. Or you're going to have a Mike Ashley or an owner like that. So the only way to prevent that is to figure out a way to take control of your club. Now, what does that mean? That means that some rich consortium of Chelsea fans or former players needs to band together and potentially make an offer whenever the UK government allows allows Chelsea to be sold and taken from Abramovich's hands and properly. Now the legal system as to how they're going to give him the money, that's totally, that we have no idea what's going to happen with that. But whenever the team gets sold, this consortium or this group needs to get together, buy it, and then slowly but surely figure out a system to make it where the fans own the club, at least in the majority. It could be a slim majority. It could be a 50.1 or 51%, but they need to, and because this way at least they have control. And the one thing that the EPL is different is that the TV money that the EPL makes is huge, much more than what the Bundesliga makes. So people are saying, well, no, we need a rich owner. No, you have rich money coming in from the TV rights deal. Chelsea is a big club worldwide, and they're winners, right? They won Champions League twice. So there is a market appeal for them. They're based in London. They're in the area that's of London, which is one of the richest neighborhoods in the UK. So, you can still make money and run the club, like how the Bundesliga run their clubs. I think it is possible, but the problem is that you have a section of Chelsea fans who are fearful that, and they think they need a rich owner to splash money and win, because I don't think they do. I think, the way Chelsea has their loan army and their scouting, that network is still there. I think, and Frank Lampard proved a couple years ago when he actually went up to second with the loan army, when they had no transfers and they really couldn't spend money, that it is possible. They can do well. So that's the goal. That's the goal that I hope Chelsea makes, but that's really ambitious on my end. But I really want to see that, because I think the member-owned model can work in a club that makes a ton of money from rights deals and sponsorships like Chelsea does.
Before I get back to Chelsea, Mike's response.
Yeah, well,
I said before I get to your response,
oh.
Rich Will, likelihood that we see a fan-owned club in the Premier League.
0.1%.
All right, take it.
And I also think that the fact the UK government did this to Chelsea with Roman Abramovich is a bit telling, when they have this fit and proper persons test, and they've had Manchester City running riot for the last, 10 years, and they've just approved of the Saudi consortium purchasing Newcastle. It's pretty obvious what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, all of this happened.
Question in anyone's mind that the only reason that they're doing this is because Roman Abramovich and the Russians did this to a European nation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, Mike, now's your shot.
Yeah, here, Rob, here's why that's kind of impractical. For one thing, the fans would have to want to buy Chelsea, and they just straight up don't. Chelsea fans, actually, like normal Chelsea fans, always loved Roman Abramovich, because before, as other fans are very quick to remind us, before Roman Abramovich, our team was crap. And where were we when we were like that? I mean, the thing is that to Chelsea fans, he was seen as a savior. And there's a lot of people who just feel that, that type of strong owner is who we need. But it's also, Chelsea fans, we couldn't come up with $1.5 billion by Friday, which Friday is the official UK government bid for deadlines. I've got 10 pounds I could throw in there. but but it's hard to get to $1.5 billion to be a 50% owner of a team with that kind of market cap and that kind of value. And so the only people who can buy that are very rich or consortiums of very rich people. I hope for Chelsea's sake that they're not sold to another foreign entity. Especially, a lot of Chelsea fans' grievance is that, this is happening to Roman Abramovich, but meanwhile the Saudis and the Emiratis are just bombing Yemen, I mean, mercilessly. So like, I hope that they get themselves into just a rich guy with no foreign entanglements who, just fits the bill for right now. But I also hope that they have the same drive to win and to get the players that Chelsea need. And if that means going into the red, doing that, though Chelsea, more than other billionaire owned clubs, and just by virtue of how long we've been owned by a billionaire, are profitable. Again, unlike Newcastle or City, or even, some of the red clubs.
All right, so you talked about it. Friday's the deadline to put up bids. All right, so we are going to discuss wish lists for Chelsea owners. I have my own. We believe the valuation of the club is somewhere in the neighborhood of £3 billion, which, if my math is correct, that's about $4.5 billion, maybe a little less. Let's call it 4.2. So we'll give you ours and you'll give me yours. Top five to round out the show. At number 5, if I had to choose my 5th best Chelsea owner, I believe they have the money to do it. I'm going with the Kardashians. I think social media wise, they definitely have an edge. Plus, you'll get the obligatory reality series, and there's something to be said about a relationship in between Chloe and Romelu Lukaku, and the inevitable relationship in between Kim and Antonio Rudiger. I'm there for all of it. All right, so I'm going for the Kardashians with my number 5 pick.
Do we get Kanye with all that?
No, because they're divorced now.
I know, but like, can we?
Dude, you're talking about Kardashians, like divorce actually means anything.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll get Kanye.
He will make an obligatory appearance, but he is not involved in the ownership group. You just have the Kardashian crew as your ownership board, all of them. All right, Mike, give me yours.
So here, you know what, the news of the world has transpired so quickly. But I was saying the other day, hey, you've got an all-time great NFL quarterback who's got a lot of money. He's got a supermodel wife who makes more money than he does. They've got more money than God. Who are better owners than proven winners, Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen? Those are my ideal owners of Chelsea. He doesn't need to play football anymore. He can retire, just buy Chelsea, sit back and let the money roll in.
All right, so
and
Rob,
let's win some games.
Rob, I'm going to give you the next shot.
So I think you need to do it like the Miami Marlins do. You need to get like a whole bunch of rich people and then have Didier Drogba at the face of it, just like Derek Jeter was at the face of the Miami Marlins. Pretty much. And I know Jeter recently sold his share of the Marlins because of disagreement with the ownership group and whatnot. But I think that would work. I think you have a couple of Chelsea legends led by Drogba, put in some money, be the face of it, and then have some billionaire owner like a Bezos or even Bezos' wife, even Melinda Gates, something of that nature. Just provide the money and let Drogba and his crew do their thing. I think it'll be fantastic. I think like Drogba once again will save Chelsea, even though he won't be the money portion of it. But I mean, he could have, look, Drogba is a hero at Chelsea. I mean, it makes sense for him to come back when they're at their most dire and save the club once again and make them rise from the ashes.
Rob, if Didier Drogba built the ownership group that bought Chelsea, I would probably build a temple to him in my backyard. Like, that's how much I already love him. And like, I would just go that much further.
All right, you got another ownership. So we've got the Kardashians, we've got Didier Drogba holding up a crew. We've got Tom Brady and Giselle Bundchen. Mike, I'm gonna give you another one. Do you got another option beyond the Bradys?
No, I don't. I don't even have anything. No, I don't have anything funny. I mean, on it, like I have my on it. Like,
I've got plenty. I want to see what I want to see what Will's got. You got one for us?
Yep.
Potential Chelsea owners.
Well, I mean, I'd love to own them.
Okay, where's Will?
Could run them into the ground and milk them for all. Really manage the team well and get the maximum potential from the team. But the more realistic option would be, of course, I know they're divorced for a few years now, but they had a recent spat over a winery in the south of France. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. I think they could go and co-own that club. And then they could also continue their humanitarian work for adopting children, but instead of adopting children, adopting loanees from around Europe.
Okay, so we have the Kardashians, we have the Bradys, we have divorcees Brad and Brangelina. We have Mike. So we have the Kardashians. All right, Stead, who you got?
Well, Bayern Rob took my guy. I was like, Dad, give it to Bezos. He already.
No, he didn't actually say Bezos.
Well, I say Bezos because he already has a yacht that apparently needs to have a bridge dismantled for him to actually get it seaworthy, since it is probably bigger. I think the yacht itself is bigger than Stamford Bridge as well. Mm-hmm. So he could easily just keep it in port and just take over the team. He's not a part of Amazon anymore. Apparently, he's only a share. He's not even an active member of the board. So he could use a couple of snacks, and it could be somebody that could actually, sit at the same table with the oil barons of City and Newcastle now.
None of y'all said Jay-Z and Beyonce.
No, absolutely not.
I'm slightly disappointed.
No.
I respect them too much to make them go for
it. There is something about. Actually, I'm going to go in the complete opposite direction. He's well known to be affiliated with the Bloods. Therefore, owning a team that wears blue would be perfect. Dr. Dre. Or if you want to go strictly because he wears blue, I want to see Snoop Dogg in the owner's suite.
I take Snoop Dogg before I take Dr. Dre.
At least Snoop Dogg it'd be a good time. I think Snoop Dogg. How about a partnership in between Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart to buy Chelsea?
Martha Stewart could. She got money places that you don't even know exist.
And Snoop Dogg does too.
Well, Martha Stewart would also be a great foil to Delia Smith, who owns Norwich.
So Martha Stewart's going to sew all of the kits and cook all the meals. And Snoop Dogg's going to be in charge of recovery with his CBD oil. They're going to be the best playing, most relaxed team, outfitted team
Are you
ever.
kidding me, man? That team wouldn't even come back out after halftime.
I feel like
it'd be
out in the
halftime.
parking
They'd
lot
go in there.
before
They'd
the
get a
game,
little.
you see Snoop, and then
Please.
inside, Martha's got all the food laid out for us. So there you
You
go.
got to be kidding me. They wouldn't make it past the 45 minutes. They'd go in at halftime, and then Martha would have the spread at it. You'd have Snoop giving the CBD massage oils. They'd forget the second half even started.
But the funny thing was, they wouldn't play a
I love playing
European.
for that team.
They wouldn't play a European game after 4:20. You know, like
All right, let's wrap
4:20.
this up.
All right. Oh, geez, we got to get out of here. That was too much fun. No, seriously, I want to give a big shout out to British Will coming on and joining us while he is on his spring break in Hawaii. Good to see you, my friend. Happy surfing. Enjoy all the spam. Celtic Cam, come on, talk a little bit about Scotland. Mike, Bayern Rob, and almost forgot Coach Matt joining us for the beginning of the show. I saw Los for a little bit, but he ducked off. Apparently, we did not pay him enough attention when he wanted to be seen. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, Los missed the ref discussion. We should have had him on earlier. I think he would have loved
He
that.
should have shown up
lively
earlier.
rant we went on.
He should have shown up earlier. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And of course, a big shout out to my faithful friend in all things podcasting, producer Stead. Thanks for keeping the trains running on time. Gentlemen, I can't complain about this episode. This was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens when you don't have a plan, Stead?
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
Every once in a while, we got to remember who we are.
Mhm.
Go Ireland.
That is very true.
Happy St. Paddy's Day. Please, if you go out on St. Paddy's Day, make sure you pay for your beers and your beers only. Don't sing "Oh Danny Boy" with Australian rock stars. And make sure you make it out of the bar with your clothes and your clothes alone. All three things that I have failed at in my past exploits on St. Paddy's Day. So learn from my experiences. I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. We did all right this week. We'll try and do better next week. Thanks a lot. Have a happy week.